Hello there guys, Daniel Childs back here again for another show. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe on this Monday. The World Cup has truly begun. England winning their opener against Iran 6-2. A big win for Gareth Southgate, a really convincing performance, some great attacking play, and from a Chelsea perspective, Mason Mount and particularly Raheem Sterling performing well. So the best start for England. Just to sort of introduce World Cup Daily is what I'm calling it for now, kind of as a podcast, just kind of wrapping things up or maybe focusing on one game because we're not going to be able to sort of cover every single game given sort of time restraints and stuff. But obviously today we're going to focus on the England performance. I also, from a Chelsea perspective, I'm going to cover some news surrounding Christopher Nkunku again, another big player that's consistently being linked with Chelsea. So we'll have a chat. We'll put this on the podcast feed as well so people can listen to it. I hope you enjoy this format. Let me know what you think about it and if you want to see some different things, because we are going to get some guests on to kind of have longer form conversations around Chelsea as well in the next week or two. So this is not only going to be the content coming up, it's just a way to cover the World Cup, to see what's going on. I probably will lean into more Chelsea players, how they're doing in the World Cup, because that's obviously of interest. And right now, as I'm recording this, Senegal are playing the Netherlands, and then later today it's Wales versus USA, Ethan Ampadu versus Christian Pulisic. But if you are listening on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Son of Chelsea is a part of the 90 Min podcast network, so please go over there. If you are watching this on my YouTube channel, it's really easy to find a podcast. If you want to listen to this in audio form, just search Son of Chelsea on all your favourite podcast providers. As I said, already content gone up there reviewing the recent Chelsea game, some of the news, a Q&A, all of that good stuff, and now of course covering the World Cup. And if you're watching on my YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button if you're new here for the latest Chelsea content during the World Cup, and hit that like button because it helps new people find the channel as well. But England, I really like the 4-3-3. I do. You know how much I like it from a Chelsea perspective, how much I've been wanting to see it implemented at Chelsea in recent years, and the way it worked today, it worked wonderfully because it was a style of game that very much suited that and needed England to be progressive and get on the front foot. I think the way England, it was such a perfect demonstration. You know, you see a lot of times it go wrong against a low block, a team sort of in command in possession, how wrong you can get it if you're too slow on the ball, if you're sloppy in possession, if you waste your chances, if you don't have good movement, if you don't have players progressing beyond the ball at times from central midfield. That's what this formation gave England. You know, to have Bellingham and Mason Mount as 2-8s was obviously massive, I think, for England in this game. The way both of them moved, you saw Mason Mount move kind of over to a left wing position because Raheem Sterling was moving kind of centrally. He likes moving into that central position where he gets a lot of his goals for England, as you saw in this game. And the rotations out wide were just so impressive to me. And that it was in the first 20 minutes, you could tell where England were going to get past the run in this game, and it was a struggle for them to kind of hit the ball forward and get anything to gel really until the second half. And I think for both Mason Mount and for Raheem Sterling, as I say, Chelsea biased hat on here, I think it was a massive indication of hopefully in the second half of the season what Graham Potter could do and what he could do with a certain Declan Rice, because there were reports last night that apparently West Ham were finally willing to listen to offers for Declan Rice next summer. Bellingham's been linked to Chelsea as well. Bellingham scoring that goal, he was mesmerising again. And for that age, to score a goal at the World Cup, the opening goal for England at a World Cup, I think he's just got such a nice blend of attributes about him for a central midfielder. Obviously, earlier in his career, he was very much looking like he was going to play as a striker. So he's got those instincts, and he's got that kind of size and frame, despite being a very young player, to get in the box and impact things. But he just has a very nice, cool, kind of calm nature on the ball, and consistently, the level he's been playing at for Borussia Dortmund, you expect that from him. But I just felt that the way when England were trying to build up from the back, he would very much drop in there and sometimes provide an extra man to kind of help that build up if Iran were trying to press England a little bit more. But then of course he has that guile, and he has the anticipation to run into the box, to be brave, and it's great to see him doing that for England at a major tournament. Bukayo Saka, Wonderful. And what I like about Saka, the best wide players are the ones that kind of just have no fear and they just go at the opposition. And Saka in the first half was trying that a few times and he was losing out. But as the game progressed, he finally got his rewards for doing so. Brilliant strike, brilliant volley, just a player in confidence, obviously at Arsenal at the moment. And in the second one, nice move from Raheem Sterling, passing the ball quickly to Bukayo Saka, and then Saka just patiently waiting and then finishing it. Considering what happened to him at the last major tournament, which, no one, should be blaming him for, such a young player to take a responsibility and take a penalty. But to see him come out here, it's nice to see that a lot of players who have been performing well for their clubs, like Saka, for instance, come into this game with form and just consistently and continue to show their improvement. And I think that it's such a shame we don't have Reece James at this tournament. Again, I know Chelsea bias, but I just think down that right side, I thought Trippier is going to add that experience, and especially from set pieces, I think he's going to be a real threat with Maguire in there too. England have always been a threat at set pieces with Gareth Southgate. That's something I think they've always kind of at a base level been very strong at, which, these are basics, but these are important things at international tournaments. But for England to come out and to see that flair, to see so many different players score, none of them being Harry Kane, which I know maybe will annoy Harry Kane, but that is not a concern because you don't want the burden to be on him consistently. And to see Marcus Rashford come off the bench and score, big for him personally to get back in England, scored. Jack Grealish to score. Callum Wilson was obviously involved in that goal too. Just all round, it was just a really nice afternoon of football watching England. Obviously, it's going to get a lot tougher. USA, Wales, I think they're going to offer very different challenges with better players and are going to, test England defensively, because we did see in that second half a little bit more of that fragility that we have seen from England in recent months. But a lot of people have been asking Gareth Southgate to be more progressive and to go at games a bit more with the talent he has at his disposal. And I don't think you can have too much of a go, and it's going to be very easy to dismiss the opposition today. But if that's the case, as I said on Twitter, you can go back and you deserve the Algeria in 2010. You deserve those performances because to see England go out there and just perform so confidently when there has been a lot of negativity around this tournament for very good reasons. But I think for the nation to wake up today, to feel sort of maybe a little bit of nerves and trepidation before the first game and to go out there and play with such flair and confidence obviously sets us up in the best way possible, and hopefully they can continue it in the next two games, because I think they beat USA on Friday and you are there basically in the knockout stage. So perfect start, and we will see how this evening's game against the USA and Wales goes. I think I'm leaning towards a draw in that game. I just think both teams will kind of cancel each other out, and that would be obviously a positive thing for England going into the final two games of their group. Let's talk a little bit about Chelsea news. The big one today that I did write a piece about was Christopher Nkunku, a report from 10 Sport, I think it is, in France. Just again reiterating how close Chelsea are to securing a deal for Christopher Nkunku, despite this ligament injury that he has suffered that has ruled him out of the World Cup. I asked a lot of you guys on Twitter over the weekend whether Chelsea should still go ahead with this deal. I got sort of mixed responses. I think overall it was still positive that people felt we should still try and sign Christopher Nkunku from Leipzig despite this injury. Based on the assessment and based on the time frame given to his recovery, mid-Jan, early February it looks like, which isn't the worst for an injury of this nature, but you just don't know how he's going to recover and how fast he's going to recover, whether it may take him a little bit longer, and what player returns. That is always such a big concern with these injuries. Does the player return in the same sort of ferocity that he had before, which made him so dangerous? But hopefully that is the case, and it does look like, for clarity, Chelsea, if they are going to sign Nkunku and it does get confirmed before, say, the end of the year, it's going to be for July 2023. He won't be joining mid-season, which I never felt he would. I thought that would have been such a shock and would have been weird for Leipzig to kind of do that and to agree to that. Obviously, once again, this is just another report that we've seen from Germany, from France. We've seen some reports from England. I think there's still maybe a final step to go to get some more concrete reports on this, but it's looking good. I mean, if you're someone that really wants to see Christopher Nkunku sign for Chelsea, you've got to feel confident that at the very least he has signed something or had an agreement with Chelsea that we know since last month. it's just about, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and getting all of that done before anyone else can nip in. And I do wonder if a lot of this is Bowley being sort of scarred by the summer transfer window. Rafinha, Jules Koundé, getting so close with both of those deals, and Barcelona coming in at the final turn and getting it in front of Chelsea. So I think for Nkunku, hopefully he can have a smooth recovery. I have been more convinced by Nkunku watching him a little bit more closely. Obviously people who watch him a lot more than me, Kevin Hatchard, who is a Bundesliga commentator, so obviously knows a lot more about him than I do and has been watching him for several years, cannot stop raving about him. So he's clearly a very good player. The one thing I would always say, as we have seen in recent years with players coming into Chelsea, is how they adapt. How do we try to get the best out of them? How do they acclimatise to English football? I would say, compared to Timo Werner, which again is the one big comparison I did mention in my last video when someone was asking me about Nkunku, is I do think he has more of a rounded technique. I'd say that was the big thing that let Timo Werner down when he was asked to do slightly different things, and he was up against defenders who weren't just going to give him half a pitch to run into. And Nkunku isn't going to get that. But I think just with what I've seen, and also he seems to have a bit more comfort in dropping a little bit deeper and connecting play if he needs to in certain environments. So I'm pretty confident that if he does come in, I think that there are the tools there to make a very good player for Chelsea. But obviously, as we know at Chelsea, just because we sign a good player does not mean he's going to, turn into a world beater for us. There's a lot more things that go into a good transfer, as we know, and a bad one, as Chelsea know very well. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, because there is that trepidation, because Chelsea have had a lot of injury problems, and the last thing we want to do is spend a lot of money on a player to come in and isn't the one that was before the injury, and we consistently have him on the injury table. But again, I think it is a fair point that someone could come back with. You have that, risk with any player, unless you're going to find someone who has no injury problems at all. Let's just hope this injury he recovers from quickly, and then if the deal can be done before the start of 2023, it's all good for him to come to Stamford Bridge and hopefully wreck things up in 2023 in a good way for Chelsea's attack. Let me know your thoughts on the World Cup so far. Are you enjoying it? I mean, based on the first two games, I thought Qatar versus Ecuador, it was like watching an FA Cup third round game between like a Premier League team and a League One team. It was bizarre, the mismatching quality, and I think Ecuador kind of put their foot off the gas in the second half to conserve a bit of energy. So in the first two games of this tournament, we have kind of seen two routes in a sense. Of course, England went all the way and scored 6, but I think it's going to be more competitive. The Senegal Netherlands game got some really good players there. I think USA Wales is an interesting game, and then moving on, we've got some real good games for the rest of the week. So I'll be covering it on the channel, trying to get content out on a daily basis, also in audio format if I can as well. So if you're listening on the podcast, please do give us a rate and review, because it really does help out and gets the podcast growing. Surrounding Chelsea content, as I said, going to be continuing to talk about Chelsea and the news that's cropping up around this World Cup, and also some of the players that Chelsea are going to be linked with because of this World Cup, and whether we should go in for them or not. Let me know your thoughts on the video if you are watching. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.